anybody that actually tunes into this. I didn't like where the first stream was going. Like I rehearsed stuff, I practiced stuff, and I totally did not take that route at all. So I'm trying it again here. I'm going to try to wrap things up by 2. I'm down to a little over 10 minutes now, so it's probably going to end up going over. I'm going to skip the update because I can always do that in another video or at the end of this one. But I originally called both of these videos Stand because I wanted to share what I stand for, because I kind of realized the other day I really have never done that. Like, I mean, I've made posts that should make some things a little obvious, or even to my Twitter name, because you guys should totally follow me on Twitter if you don't already, at Sienna Brief. But, you know, in my name right now, I have, you know, the mask up and also, you know, the Black Lives Matter hashtag. I was thinking of putting something in about voting, but I literally just changed it from my Halloween name yesterday to like a Thanksgiving one. And I'm like, the election's tomorrow. It's kind of dumb to, you know, put that in my name now. Plus, I've been promoting voting the entire time. Promoting voting, it kind of rhymes. The entire time anyway. So, and yes, I'm in nerd gear here. So, yeah, the mask up, of course. I believe in science. I have a science degree. My second time in college, I went for health, actually, enough. So, like, I believe in the science. I just don't believe in the science. I know the science. I actually was thinking of getting a master's degree in well, you have to get to work in epidemiology. You have to have at least a master's degree. I changed my mind on that because I had done basically 10 years of straight college between my two bachelor's degrees and my associate's degree and my 1 year of attempted graduate school between the 2 bachelor's degrees. So I was very burnt out. I am still very burnt out several years later. But epidemiology is really cool and really fascinating. And just, again, you know, I know science, I know health stuff. I have lots of friends who also are in such a field, whether they're doctors or nurses, or, you know, they also teach this stuff, you know, science and health and that. Yeah, I don't understand how anybody thinks that COVID is not real. Like, I don't get it. I mean, millions of people have died around the world. There's no way that every single country in the world got together and decided to make a fake thing to put the entire world in crisis. Like, there's no way. There is a lot of research that shows, you know, that masks work. I mean, other countries in the world have been wearing masks when, like, during cold and flu season, when they're sick. There's even an episode, because I know, like Asia, it's a very common thing to do in Asia, especially in Japan. There's an episode of Sailor Moon. So this is back from like the 90s, where Sailor Mars is, I can't remember how sick she is. I mean, she ends up showing up and helping them. So apparently she's well enough to do that. But, you know, she doesn't want to get her friends sick, whether she has just a cold or whatever it is. So she has a mask on. And actually, my last couple of years at Michael's, I started noticing people wearing masks too. It wasn't always if they were sick. Sometimes it was to prevent them from getting sick. We had one decently regular customer. She was a cancer patient. And a lot of times that was a good sign that she was going through her chemo, would be she would have a mask on because she was trying to help protect herself from getting germs. Masks do work a bit in both ways. It is primarily to help you from spreading germs or anything like that. But, you know, it's still, if you have somebody wearing a mask and somebody not wearing a mask, both people are a lot more safer if both people would be wearing masks, you know. So there's science behind this stuff. It is very frustrating to me that people refuse to believe it. Like, we have proof, but yet they're like, no, this isn't real. People are just randomly dying for no reason. It's just meh. Kind of also trailing into that though too, I do have I'm just gonna say religious beliefs because I don't know what else to say. What else to call it, I guess. I don't go to church. I don't really practice that. I've had some not great experiences myself. And it's just too, a lot of church now has become the super mega churches. And a lot of those really are just kind of out to get money, because I mean, there's one in Rockford where I used to live that actually does do a lot of good stuff. I've never actually been to this church myself, but like they've given away like over 1 million meals helping people during the pandemics. Like, they're doing good stuff. But like the mega church I used to go to, you would have like people who would donate tons of money to the church and help out a whole lot and do all this stuff, and they were like barely getting by themselves, like, or they didn't have money and so they weren't donating because they were so poor. But yet you had people of the church driving Hummers and living in huge houses, and they were paid way more than a lot of people make in a year. My own home church, like, they got rid of a pastor because he divorced his wife. They've like gone through, I don't even know how many pastors in the last couple of years, because they keep like, oh, we don't like these people anymore, we're going to get rid of them. I've just seen a lot of not Christian things done by Christians. It seems like a lot of the people who are like hardcore, make sure everybody knows that they're a Christian, are some of the most two-faced people I have ever met. Yeah. And still too, like, when it comes to religion, you do still have to think for yourself. When it comes to anything, really, you have to think for yourself. Politics, religion, whatever. Because especially where I live now, a lot of people just vote with political party because that's how their family has voted for years. We have generations that go to the same churches. People just don't leave. They don't go out. They don't do things. They don't think for themselves. They just like, oh, this is my life. And they don't like try to make anything else out of their life. They don't even consider it, which is super weird to me. Or they're just like, well, this is all that my family's ever done. This is all that we can ever do. And they don't try. They don't think that they can do better than they can. Or than that they are. So they don't. And I mean, it's not just where I live. It's everywhere too. I've just noticed there's a lot of it where I'm from compared to where I've lived other places. And, that's not true. I mean, I keep thinking to myself, one of the best things I ever did was actually move away from home, because it put me into a new world and I got to experience new things and things to get me thinking and whatnot. So still politics, I don't really go with a certain political party. Kind of same thing with my religion beliefs. I don't even really like to call myself a Christian anymore because it has such a negative connotation in so many ways. But finish up with the religion thing. I do believe in, that there is God. I do believe in the Trinity. I mean, I have definitely seen and experienced enough throughout my lifetime to know that there is some higher power out there. As weird as it sounds, though, I feel like The Sims is a really good simulation, for lack of a better word, right there, because you can somewhat control your Sims, but you can't control everything they do. And there's actually, I just found this out recently, in Sims 3, there's actually a setting of how much free will you give them. But that's the thing, like, we have free will to decide even if we're going to believe in God or not. So like, I actually had, I unfriended one person during the pandemic, and I've seen some other people too who are like, well, if I'm supposed to die from COVID, I'm going to die from COVID. So there's no point in doing anything to prevent myself from getting it. And it's like, free will. There's a comic or something. I don't know if I've seen it on Twitter. I know I've seen it on Facebook, but it was like, this guy's, sick in bed, and I think he has COVID in this one. He's like, God, why didn't you, why have you done this to me? Why have you forsaken me? And God's like, did you wear a mask? And the guy's like, no. Did you, and God's like, did you do this? And the guy's like, no. And he's like, you had free will. You chose not to do these things. You got sick. Was kind of pointing out that, well, people have free will, you can decide. I mean, there's stuff, you don't have complete control over your life. That's one aspect where I do believe there is a higher being out there. And of course, too, I mean, I'm stuck living here because my roommate screwed me over royally. I've had a lot of bad luck in my life because I trusted people that apparently I should have not trusted. But yeah, sorry. I'm trying not to still be angry at her, but it's like, my life completely 100% changed because she made bad decisions that then affected me and screwed me over a lot more than I think they screwed her over. So, yeah, I guess I kind of feel like, in a way, that kind of is my religious belief take. I'm not going to condone other religions of the world because I've also studied other religions of the world. I took some classes in college. Interestingly enough, one of my church youth groups actually studied different world religions. And it would be in an English major too, oddly enough. That comes up kind of, not a lot, but you do end up discussing this type of stuff in that field too. And if you look at it, most of the major world religions have the same principles of like being a good person and, you know, treating other people how you would like to treat yourself, treat others how you would like to be treated. Basically, you know, the golden rule of being nice to people, be kind to thy neighbor, and all that good stuff. So yeah. Who are we to say what is wrong, what is right, and what is wrong? In some ways, if you really look at it, different religions, they're almost like sort of a different form of each other, if you will. Like, you know, they might have some different type of god or multiple gods. But in a way, the Holy Trinity sort of is multiple in one. So it's really weird math. But yeah, so I mean, who are we to decide who is right and wrong with that? And who knows, maybe there actually is like, you know, some of these countries who have like multiple other gods and stuff like that, well, maybe that's their form of Jesus and the Holy Spirit and that stuff. You know, like I said, we don't know this stuff. And I feel like there's a reason why we don't know that. And maybe that is just for us not to know. I hope it makes sense. But yeah, so I kind of go with religion as there's something out there, but believe what you want to believe. Just, you know, and one thing too, a lot of the major religions have the same things, like don't do this, this is bad. You know, I don't really think there's too many, I'm going to say too many religions that are like, oh yeah, murder's good, go steal things, you know, rape everybody, that's wonderful. Like I said, just a lot of the major world religions have the exact same principles, the same stances, the same viewpoints on the same things. So going on some of those things, yes, of course, murder is bad. I didn't get into an argument, but I just pointed out to this person on Facebook. Somebody had posted something about, you know, that 17-year-old kid that went up to Wisconsin from Illinois and killed some people during protesting. And she's like, well, it's better. Well, oh, where can I send him money? This kid needs to be out. He's a hero. And it's like, he's a murderer. She's like, well, he took care of the criminals. That was good. It's like, but he is a criminal because he murdered people. He shot people. He, you know, he committed murder. And it's just like, wow, you are a very stupid person. Like, she was not getting it. And I only commented 3 times because it's like, you're just dumb. I mean, murder's murder. You shoot somebody. He intentionally crossed state lines, obtained a gun, was out past curfew because he's only 17, and shot people. Intentionally shot people. How is that not murder? How is that not a crime? How is he not a criminal? I don't know. I forgot the point I was making with that. But I mean, it was just like somebody was trying to justify a crime. And it's just, yeah. Of course, there are things that are not completely black and white. There's gray area stuff. Abortion is one of those things where I don't actually, it's a gray area. I believe that, I mean, definition of life, because I mean, you can be brain dead and people consider you a vegetable and not really alive anymore. So I believe if you have brain function and a heartbeat, you're alive. That's my definition of life. Of course, trying to define life is a very challenging thing, but that's just my personal definition of life. So most likely, yes. And most times, because I mean, heartbeat and brain function start really, really early in human development and, you know, the fetus development, whatever you want to call it. I don't know why I keep doing this. So in a good amount of cases, I think that's like 40 days or something like that into development. So there's a good chances that a lot of people, well, women, because we're the ones who get pregnant and have babies, by the time you find out that you're pregnant, this kid's already got some brain and heart stuff going on. But I also don't think, sorry, the cat did something. I also don't think in cases of rape, in cases of incest, stuff like that, I don't think you should be forced to carry this child. I mean, yes, you can give the kid up for adoption, But there was a post I saw within the last couple weeks on Facebook, and it was a like a delivery room nurse and posting and stuff that she's seen and why this election is so important and different stuff. And one of them was a 10-year-old came in labor. She was raped by her father. She was 10. 10-year-olds should not be able to have babies. 10-year-olds should not be able to get pregnant. But because of the sexual abuse, she probably got her period earlier than she should have and whatnot, because oddly enough, that can make those things happen earlier. I don't know. But like, I don't know why. It's weird, but it's true. But this 10-year-old was forced to be pregnant and deliver her father's baby, her sister, her sibling slash, I mean, technically she was the mother to her half sibling. But they forced this on their child because of their religious beliefs. And I'm like, you think their religious beliefs would have been against incest? It's like situations with that, like situations of rape, because even if you carry the baby to term, if you're raped, you get pregnant, you carry the baby to term, that is still like 8 to 9 months of like constantly being reminded what happened to you. That if you have to tell everybody, because there's people who are going to be like, well, who's the baby's dad? Oh, why are you giving up for adoption? There's just, there's so much stuff around that is just, anybody who does that is amazingly strong in my mind. I mean, somebody who's raped, gets pregnant from it, and has the child, that's got to take a lot of strength, because it's just a constant reminder. And even too, this kid's now out there, and think of the kid too, finding out that you're a rape baby, that can't be easy. And then there's situations of the mother's health or even the baby's health. I mean, I actually had a teacher that they knew that their first child was not going to live for very long. She was going to be born with a bunch of complications. They didn't even know if she would survive birth. She did. I think she lived to be a couple of weeks to a couple months old. But cause I remember we were all excited for our teacher, like, oh, what are you guys having? Do you know what you're going to have yet and stuff? And he didn't want to talk about it. And I think that's why, was because like he knew his child wasn't going to survive. I give him and his wife major credit for, having that baby and everything. But, I have friends who have lost kids. I've actually seen a lot of people who have lost kids, and it's not an easy thing to go through. So to know that you're giving birth to something that's probably not going to live is, I can't imagine it. It takes guts. It takes some strength to do that, but it's also probably got to be a major brain fudge too. And there's times too where, the baby is actually killing the mother, I mean, in a way, they're kind of little parasites until they're born, maybe even after. So yeah, like I said, it's just, in those circumstances, kind of a gray area. Having an abortion because, oh, you had sex and you got pregnant and you don't want this kid, that's not a reason to have an abortion, in my opinion. Again, this is my personal opinion. Whether you got drunk, because you still sort of made the choice, that's also kind of a debatable thing too, because sometimes it's like, oh, they were willing, but they were drunk and they're going to call it rape. And we're not going to get into that. But, if you are 100% conscious and you decide to have sex with somebody and the birth control fails or whatever, that's not a reason in my mind to have an abortion. I actually know quite a few people who exist because of failed birth control. So, I mean, that's why in my mind, if you're having sex, you should be old enough and knowledgeable enough and willing to accept, hey, I know that this act that I'm doing, whether you are the male or the female, I know this act I can't think of the word. Could result in a baby happening. If you can't accept that, if you're not going to step up and take care of that responsibility, then you're not responsible enough and should not be having sex. That's my thoughts on that. I think it kind of carries that one. What's another good topic? I'm going to go with the LGBTQ thing, because that's another major, it's a hot topic too, because I love this stuff that keeps going around on Facebook and on Twitter, that if you say you care about me, if you say you love me, but you vote for things that are going to harm me or hurt me or take away rights or whatever like that, do you really care? Because I've just kind of been waiting for somebody to be like, oh, why do you care about this stuff? You're a straight white female. None of this matters to you or should matter to you. It doesn't affect you. That's the word I'm looking for. But the thing is, I have friends who are, I have friends who are gay. I have friends who are lesbians. I have friends who are transgender. Just going off of that, I have friends who are black. I have a family member who's black. My little adopted cousin is, she's black. For her being adopted, minus the fact that she doesn't look like us, you never know it because she fits into our family so well. I mean, literally personality-wise and everything. Well, minus looks. I have lots of friends. Well, not lots. I have friends that are black. I have friends who are Asian. I have a friend who's been taking a ton of BS and racism and stuff because of COVID. He's never been to Asia. I don't know how many generations he is, but because it's also interesting too, he's also part Native American. Like, he has the most gorgeous hair ever because of his genetics. And people have been terrible to him. There's people who have been killed, like Asians who have been killed over COVID. After 9/11, a lot of Muslims were actually being murdered and attacked and stuff because, of 9/11. Yeah, racism is wrong. I think I'm on this one now, so I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go back to the LGBTQ thing. So yeah, I believe, and it's very interesting too, because I grew up in a very, well, where I live right now, unfortunately, it's very rural. It's very, multiple generations have lived here forever. It's more diverse than it was when I was growing up. When I was growing up, there was like 2 black families in the entire school. Now, there's I'm assuming there's more. I actually don't know for sure, but there's Spanish influence in the area. There's biracial kids. I just don't have friends that are other nationalities, but I have friends that they have biracial kids because one of the couple is a different ethnic background or skin. I like to say skin tone half the time because really that's the only difference. We're all human. We all bleed the same blood. We all have the same thoughts and feelings and cares and concerns. And actually, I can't quite say that because I remember not too long after Pokemon Go came out, one of my friends posted on Twitter. He's like, I just realized, like, he's sitting in his car playing Pokemon Go, and he's realized that he is a young black male sitting in a car outside of a gym after hours because it was closed. I think like he went and worked out and then he started to play Pokemon Go. Or, you would go to places to catch the Pokemon. But he realized, like, this is not a smart thing that I'm doing. I should go home before, I get stopped or shot or, police question me and stuff. There's also that episode of Blackish where it's an older episode because I think like the twins are probably the age that like Junior is in that episode. But the one where, they're talking about, there was a black kid who was shot by police, I'm assuming, and there was riots and things going on. And they're just trying to figure out, like, Bo's trying to figure out a way to not scare her kids, but also prepare her kids. Cause like Jack's got questions galore and stuff. And that always makes me think, because it's like, like I said, my little cousin is black and we can raise her in this nice little protective bubble, but she could go out into the real world and who knows what the hell could happen to her just because of her skin tone. And I actually feel like, too, if we keep her in this protective little bubble, it's going to be even worse because when she goes into the real world, that bubble's going to pop. And she's not just going to be possibly in more risk and danger, but she's going to be like, what the hell happened to the world, Like I said, it's not just her, but I have friends who have biracial kids. I have friends who are different, skin tones as well. And the fact that, like, it's decently commonplace for black parents to have to tell their kids, seems like the stress is always more on the sons, like, don't be in the wrong place, the wrong time. If you ever get stopped by the cops, this is what you do, this is what you say. You do exactly what they tell you to do, and this and that. And it's like, what? Like, that thought would have never crossed my mind when I was growing up, or even like, I moved out about 13 and a half years ago. I was out for almost 13 years before I had come back. And like, even when I moved out, those like 13, going 14 years ago, that thought would have never crossed my mind because I didn't know that. I didn't experience that. I should have experienced a little bit more, well, not experienced, but been told, because I am female. I do have to worry about stuff because I'm a girl. I have been treated differently because I'm a girl. I've been treated differently because of my age. I've been looked down upon on because of my age. I've been looked down upon on because of the work that I did. It was not very common. It was decently common. You would have customers, whether it was when I was working at Michael's. Usually they're not our regulars. Usually the people that come in like once a year at Christmas to buy presents for people. And sorry, my nose really itches. I'd have to get it at Dollar General. The gas station, that's a great example. You would get this a lot at the gas station. People would come in and, they would go, oh, you gave me the wrong change, or, oh, you did this, or, they would automatically assume that I wasn't smart because I worked at a gas station or that I was working retail. And I kind of love it with the retail one because my Michael's store, a lot of us had college degrees. We had everything from a biology major. I was English, getting a health degree at that time. We had art majors because it's an art store. We had one of my coworkers actually just this past May graduated with her teaching degree. There's a lot of us that have degrees or were working towards degrees at that time. So it's like, no, we're educated, we're smart, we know stuff. And of course, you're just making the assumption that somebody is dumb just because they didn't go to college. That's not right either. But, just the assumption that, oh, you chose this life, you chose to work this job. It's like the gas station job. I needed a job because I didn't want to lose everything that I owned. I mean, if I would have lost my car, I would have been screwed because it's like 5 miles to the closest, at least 5-mile drive to the closest town that I live in right now. Actually, I think it's like between 5 and 10. I might have to time that out, but I hate when people make assumptions like that. Get to know somebody before you assume stuff. Because there's a lot of people who think there's a lot of people out there who are good who really aren't good people, and vice versa. But yeah, I'm a girl, so I have to be more aware of things at night. Actually, too, one thing I keep seeing, which is really interesting to me, is there's been, I don't know what's up with this. Apparently, if you're a girl, you're not supposed to pump your own gas for your car. I've seen a couple posts going on around about that. Like, what's wrong with this picture? She's pumping gas in her car. And it's like, yeah, I go places by myself all the time. I'm not going to have a guy go with me just to go get gas in my car. That's stupid. Or there is the one, I will admit, I do like this one of, it's a guy and a girl walking down the street together, and the woman is on the outside of, she's on the edge of the sidewalk facing the street side. That actually, for safety reasons, is not a good scenario. It really should be switched around where the girl is on the inside of the sidewalk and the guy is facing the street side, because scarcely enough, it can happen where a car can pull the woman inside and drive away. Like, it just doesn't happen in TV shows. It does occasionally actually happen in real life. Scary, scary thought, but it is true. But yeah, if you're a girl, like, you have to be streetwise to a good point, because I mean, if I would have been more educated on some things, I would not have made some of the mistakes that I've made. I'm just going to say that. I mean, I don't have kids. I've never had an abortion, anything like that type of trouble stuff. But, if I would have been a little bit smarter, I would have not dated some people. The toxic relationship that I was in, like, knowing what I know now, I know how to look for stuff like that, because I have some guys, I mean, I'm friends with them even too. They'll hit on me and, like, they've made it known that they're interested in me, but it's like, no, dude, there are signs that you are waving flags that are just, nope. I know this is not going to be a good thing. So yeah. So kind of going back with the women's right things and abortion stuff too. I do think that women should have the right to choose, but like I said, there's just those gray areas. But my personal opinion, if you want to have an abortion just because you got pregnant, you chose to have sex, you got pregnant out of it, now you're going to have an abortion. That's not right to me, because you chose to have the sex that could produce the kid. If you don't choose, if you're not willing, if it's forced on you, if it's incest, if, that type of stuff, different situation. Let's see. What else is there? Black lives matter. Black lives do matter. There's those people like, well, all lives matter. Like, I actually had to explain this to my mom, which she's kind of lived under a rock her entire life, so it doesn't overly surprise me. And my mom is a very different generation too. So like, she was like a kid when Martin Luther King was assassinated. So, but the point of Black Lives Matter is, I liked too. There was something, again, I saw it online or something, but it's like saying that you had a loved one who passed away from lung cancer. I'm just going to throw out a specific type of cancer. And somebody comes along and be like, oh, well, so-and-so, I know somebody who passed away from breast cancer. All cancer matters. Your cancer isn't any more important than this type of cancer. Yes, we want to cure all cancers, but if you're telling somebody who just lost a loved one to one specific type of cancer that that doesn't matter, they're not going to be happy. The point of Black Lives Matter is that, hello, have we seen this year? Black people are still being oppressed. Is it oppressed or suppressed? I think it's oppressed. They are not being treated equal. They are still being targeted. There's different ethnic groups that are targeted for certain things more than other groups. If you're a white guy, there is not a very good chance that you're automatically going to be assumed to be a shoplifter or to be a higher risk of a robbery or something like that than if you are, say, a black man. I'll admit too, I've hated this. I really do hate this. I'm trying to work on it, and I think it's something that I need water. I just swallowed weird. I think it's something that so much for my 30-minute cutoff. It's a product of how I was raised in the world that I grew up in my little bubble in white rural America. I have had customers though that came in when I was working at Dollar General. They'd be like these big burly black dudes, and I would be a little afraid. And some of those were like the nicest guys ever. Actually, the weird thing is, this is kind of funny because I got stalked by 2 customers, and I got hit on by another guy, which he was an interesting one because he comes in and he's saying that he's buying diapers for his baby. He's talking about his baby mama, his girlfriend, and then he asks like if I want to go on a date before he leaves, and I'm like, no, you have a girlfriend. You have a child. You're buying diapers for your child. No, I'm not going to date you because you're not single. It's like, what the crap? And that was just kind of a flag too. I'm like, if you're, no. I will admit that guy was black. And then the 2 stalkers I had were black. The one was probably at least 10 years older than me. And in like a scooter wheelchair thingy. So I really didn't have to be too afraid of him. The other guy, he actually wasn't that big of a guy either. It was just creepy because he would like follow you around town and stuff. The guy who robbed me was a white dude. I'm actually kind of surprised that I was only ever asked by one person if the guy was black. And assuming that it was a guy. I might have said though it was a guy to begin with. But no, it was a white dude, a scrawny little white dude. So I love it in movies and TV shows and stuff where there's a big burly black dude and like, oh, we should be scared of him, and he turns out to be like this nice, gentle teddy bear. I love that because it's trying to break the stereotypes. It is a stereotype that I'm trying to get rid of too, because we had a lot of nasty customers at that store, and you know what? They were actually, the weird thing is a lot of them were female, but they were different races. So, and like I said, that whole like being intimidated by the big burly black guy is something that I am trying to work on. I won't say though that I feel any safer if it's a big burly white dude. I don't really feel any safer or any unsafe. It's just for some reason, which I'm going with how I was raised, I'm on a little bit more alert when it's a black guy. And I hate that. Have I ever followed anybody around a store thinking, oh, hey, they might be stealing because of their race? No. The interesting thing, actually, too, most of our customers that were caught stealing at Dollar General were actually white. Like, there were people who were known to come in and steal stuff. Or even, same thing, too, actually, Michael's. Most of our shoplifters were not black. Interesting stereotypes. I really do hate stereotypes. Granted, I'm very proud that I'm a nerd. I'm loud and proud about that. But that is very much who I am. I don't know. I'm kind of going off on a thing here. But yes, I do believe that everybody should be treated equal, no matter their race, their religion, their skin tone, their gender, what's in their pants, what they like in other people's pants, shouldn't matter. If you're gay and you want to marry somebody, go for it. You want to adopt kids, go for it. You want to do surrogacy, go for it. Granted, those last two things can be really expensive, but minus the financial issues, go for it. Hey, go for it even if you got the financial issues. Save up, work for it, all that good stuff. Some of the smartest people I know are, not white people. So I'm not going to judge by stereotypes or anything like that. I'm trying my best not to make assumptions because of stereotypes. It's actually cool too because, like, again, getting out of where I'm from, I got to learn a lot of things, like because of Bellegarth, and I'd say going away to school because some of the first people I made friends with were not white down at NIU, but we stayed friends for like a semester, and then they like had nothing to do with me anymore, and eventually got rid of me on MySpace. Because yes, this is back when MySpace was a thing before Facebook was super popular. I'm that old. I'm 34. I'm not that old, but yeah, I know some really incredibly smart people, and I know people who have gone from. I love this. Like, I actually just learned a bunch about Michelle Obama very recently. Her great grandparents, I think it was, were actually slaves. She was from a very poor community. She built herself up. She walked really far to go to this like better school. She is actually the most educated first lady that the United States has ever seen. And she's the first African American first lady too. So that's super awesome. Michelle, you should run for president because we need you. Politics. I never really did politics either. There is a thing going. I don't know why that's going. But I'm getting hungry too. I haven't had lunch yet. So yes, I believe no matter what your skin tone, you are no better or no less of a person than anybody else. Everybody should be treated equally. Yeah, there you go. LGBTQ, same thing. It doesn't matter. You want to marry somebody of a different race than you. You want to have little biracial babies. You want to marry somebody the same gender as you. Does not matter. Don't care. Do what you want. You should be free to, love who you love. You can't control that stuff. I do have to say it's gotta be, I don't want to like sound offensive, but like it has to be definitely, I'm going with weird because that's the best thing I can think of, but like to be born in the body that does not match your mindset, being like, oh, hey, I'm a girl, but my body parts are boy, or vice versa. Because actually my two transgender friends I have are, one's male to female transition, one's male to female transition. So I have both sides. And it's just, it's got to be very hard because, plus two, your brain's probably like, why am I thinking this way? I'm supposed to think this other way and all of that. So if we can do all these things to become the person that we're supposed to be, if we can move to a different area and get jobs and, be artists and, communicate online now with people who have the same thoughts and interests and stuff. You can change your hair color if you're not happy with it. It's actually really cool that you can actually change your gender if you think about it. That's a lot of reconstruction and stuff. It's actually really cool that science has allowed it. And that's one thing too, going back to kind of the science and religious thing. If we were not supposed to have science, God would be like, nope, this is all going away. I'm not letting you people, because I think that's one reason why we're still learning new things and making new advances and stuff is because God's like, yeah, you guys can do this now. But there's that stuff that we still don't know because God's like, no, you guys don't need to know this kind of things. So if God didn't want people to be gay, people wouldn't be gay. People were gay back in Bible times. I guess Bible times is kind of the start of humanity. But, and so, yeah, if God didn't want people to be transgender, there wouldn't be transgender people. Everybody would be all happy and stuff the way they are. There's times too, like it's going to be a super weird example that I can have personally. I started writing again it'll be 3 years in March after, I've basically been writing all my life. There's actually a picture where I'm like 1.5 to 2.5 years old. And it looks like I'm not drawing, I'm not coloring. It looks like I'm trying to write something. I've been making up stories for as long as I can remember. I did a really bad flip book back in preschool. I created my first story series a month before I turned 10 years old in 4th grade, almost 25 years ago. It's crazy. I've been writing anime for almost 19 years now. I did take a break for a good chunk of my 20s. The world just got crazy. My life just got crazy. I had a social life. I found other things. That time, though, is I met a lot of my friends that I now have during that time. So I'm not going to say it was like the worst time of my life, but it wasn't the best time of my life. There was a lot of stuff that went on and everything. And then when I got back into writing a couple of years ago, I felt like a part of me that was lost was back. I don't want to quite say that I was reborn, but part of me feels like it was reborn. I had this passion and this drive that had been gone when I wasn't writing. And that was my way of knowing that I'm meant to be a writer. This is what I was born to do. This is what I have to do. And I made a post. I was going to say a tweet and post, and it came out weird. I made a post on both Twitter and Facebook yesterday about I've written about 60 scripts for Dragon Ball Beyond. Then of course there's, I'm almost done with episode 3 of Key of Z. Finally, within a year, I've written almost 3 full scripts for this series that really I've only kind of been working on for about 6 months because I haven't written anything since June. I have I got the 3 I'm bringing back, the 3, possibly 4 that I'm bringing back. Dragon Ball Beyond, Key of Z, Lapis and Lazuli, Android Backstory, Into the Unknown. I have at least 8 series that I'm working on, as well as working on and doing life and everything else. And I'm super impressed with myself because this is the most I've ever actually written for any of my series ever. Over 60 scripts, that's a lot. Some are really short, some are only a couple pages, and some are over 30. So it's wow. And so this is who I am. This is what I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to do. Those years that I wasn't doing that was kind of miserable. I was sort of lost because I was trying to figure out what to do in life when I was denying that that's what I was supposed to do, just to make things easier for wording here. It sucked. So to not be able to be who you're supposed to be, whether it's not being able to, let people know that you're into anime, because it's kind of just personal examples for myself here right now, where I live now. Actually being back at the library, I'm finding out that I've gotten to check out Dragon Ball manga and My Hero Academia manga and other stuff. I'm like, there are nerds in this town. Yay. Like I freaked out with this like 12-year-old girl the other day. So I'm like, I love My Hero Academia too. I don't get to wear this stuff to work, so it's not as obvious. But I don't get to be myself like I got to be in Rockford. I feel very restricted here because I'm surrounded by so many people of different political beliefs and just viewpoints on the world. And, I've never really been accepted by my family with my writing or my art, which is writing related. So I'm just gonna call it my writing. Like I've never been really accepted with that, or my love of anime, or even my love of animation. Like my dad thought I was weird that I was so into cartoons when I was a kid. When you're supposed to be into cartoons. I don't know. My dad still watches the Flintstones and Bugs Bunny, but apparently if I want to watch cartoons, it's weird. Or if I wanted to watch cartoons when I was like 16, it was weird. I don't know. But, I didn't get to be myself. And then when I got to move away, I got to be myself. I got to discover who I really was. So and now that I'm back, I don't get to be myself as much. I have to like hide a lot of it. Thank God for Twitter, because I get to totally release my nerd on Twitter. So I'm just thinking that for myself, imagine being trapped in the wrong type of body, and not being able to love who you love and stuff like that. So no, I'm going to support transgender people. I'm going to support gay people. I'm going to support people of other, skin tones, because you're just like me. You're no different than anybody else in my mind. It is, and for me, both of my transgender friends, I actually, the one I knew for years before I knew that they were transgender. It actually kind of made some sense because I was like, he's got a really weird body shape for a guy, and but beyond that, I thought like, oh, just kind of a more feminine face a little bit, and a little bit higher pitched voice. And then find out that he's actually trans. I'm like, this makes more sense now. Do I see him any differently? No. He's still a guy. He's always been a guy. I've always known him as a guy. Flip things with my other friend. I've only known her as a girl. She's very, very open about being transgender. Unlike my guy friend, like I said, I found out from somebody else that they're trans. I'm like, oh. But yeah, I don't view either of them any different. Actually, it surprises me for the my friend that's a girl transitioning from formerly being a guy. It's interesting when I see pictures or things from when they were a guy, because it's like, wow, actually what surprises me is like they've made a lot of progress in a short amount of time. But yeah, I don't view them any differently. Now, if one of my friends that I've known for years would be like, hey, I'm actually not this gender, I'm going to change into the opposite gender that I am, that or family member would do that or something, it would be a little bit different, probably, or it might be different. I'm going to go with it might be different, because, it might take a little bit to wrap my mind around that, because I've known this person for so long like this. But I don't ultimately think it would change anything else. I've actually had several friends come out as being bi since I've known them, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's no different. So I hope that if one of my friends would come, or a family member or something would come out, whether it's being gay and like they're really good at keeping it, because I have one friend that came out to his family during the pandemic, and people are like, your family didn't know you're gay, because he's very he's kind of a lot of the gay stereotype. He is a very flamboyant person, and so like I gotta love this guy. He's like one of the greatest personalities I've ever met. So we're like, wait, your family doesn't know that you're gay? Like, what? And he's like, well, I never formally officially came out to them, so I'm doing that. And I think that was so cool. And I guess apparently his family did really good with it. But I hope I would be able to do that with any of my friends who were very closeted about being trans, or very closeted about being gay, or whatever else it is, that if they would come out and be like, oh, okay, cool. What do I call you now? If they're transgender, because they're probably going to change their name. But that might be hard to try to change their name over, or having to explain to some people when you're talking about, your friend, and you used to do this thing that doesn't quite make sense if, them being an opposite gender sort of situation. Like, oh yeah, my friend Dave. Yeah, back when we were kids, we were Girl Scouts. So going to be like, wait, what? That's just an example. the only thing I could think of. Like, it'd be a little different, but whoop-de-doo. So I think the only one I really have left to do is politics. I'm going to try to wrap this up since I'm making this video way longer than I wanted it to be. I was kind of hoping too that some people would come in and chime in too, but I got one person apparently watching. I think I have it set for people to comment. I don't know. But so yeah, politics has been definitely very, very interesting. Like I said, I had to move somebody from my Facebook page because they were just, what gets to me is the people who are like, hey, I don't want to make trouble, but I'm going to comment to tell you all the reasons that you are wrong about your stance on something. And like, I haven't done that exactly in that way. Like, I've pointed out to some people, like that lady who wanted to like go out and find how you could donate to give that kid that shot those people in Wisconsin during protesting, how you could donate money to him. Like, I was like, you realize you're supporting a murderer, right? Like, I've done comments like that on even my friends' posts. But I'm not like screaming at them. I'm not like berating them, where I've gotten a lot of that from other people. It actually just surprised me that I do have some of my friends do support who they support. I will admit this election, of course, I don't support Trump. Trump wants to basically undo everything. He's trying to undo a lot of things. I mean, he thinks wind power is bad. Like, he's just an idiot. I don't like him as a person. I've never liked him as a person. He's not a good person. He's disrespectful to women. He is disrespectful to basically everybody under the sun. He's just not a good person. He does not stand for like anything that I believe in. I mean, like I said, he thinks wind power is bad and coal is good. Yeah, no. Actually, it was kind of funny. One of the discussions that started up on one of my posts that somebody just felt like they needed to do was, how is Trump a bad businessman? This guy is up to debt in his beyond his eyeballs. He has driven so many companies into the ground. He's not a good businessman. So saying that he is, when there's evidential proof that he's not, I mean, it's not. Again, I go with facts. I go with science. When facts and science say one thing and you're like, oh no, that's not true. No, there's no room for that. But really, I will have to say, I'm just going to say Democrat because I get the left and the right mixed up. I do lean more towards that side because I believe that, gay people should be able to get married and, women should have the rights to choose what happens to their own bodies. And that people deserve health care. I mean, this is one area too, besides that I'm female, where this election does very much impact me, besides, for my sake of my friends and my family, but for myself personally, I have 3 confirmed pre-existing conditions. I have possibly up to 6. We're still trying to figure out what the hell is the cause of the pain issue. From my own self, knowledge, schooling, education, researching. I mean, this has been an issue in my life for closer to a decade now than not. I think I'm going on 8-9 years. It's most likely a nerve issue. There's also possibility that I have carpal tunnel now. I was actually thought arthritis, but talking with a friend who has carpal tunnel makes a little bit more sense than arthritis. And the migraines has not been confirmed, but since there's multiple generations of migraines in my family, also talking with friends who get migraines, I have migraine issues now as well. Luckily, I can keep them at bay quite often. But I have potentially up to 6 chronic health issues. Thankfully enough, the migraines do tend to taper off somewhere in like 30s, 40s. So that's a good thing. But a lot of these other things I will probably be living with for the rest of my life. I was actually denied health insurance when I was 16 years old. I'm 34. I almost made myself a year older. So that's 18 years ago. I got denied because of acid reflux that I don't take medicine for. I was denied because of an anxiety disorder that I don't take medicine for. I don't take meds for anything, and I can't get decent health insurance. I actually don't even know if I have Medicare or Medicaid, whatever, right now because of moving and stuff getting screwed up. I got a letter that said I had to respond by the end of February, and I got that letter in the middle of March where everything was shut down. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I would like to be able to go to the dentist. I would like to be able to go to the doctor when I need to. I would like to be able to go to the eye doctor, was it once or twice a year you're supposed to get your teeth and your eyes looked at? I would like to be able to do that. I would like to take the pre-care, the preventary care. There we go. I can't remember my terms today. I would like to do that versus the tertiary or the secondary care. I would like to prevent these bad things from happening versus dealing with them after they happen. And that seems to be kind of a big thing too of our last several Democratic candidates is they wanted to prevent, where Trump's like, I don't care about anything. We'll just let other places take care of it. I mean, I'm sorry, but he denied a major health crisis for months. He still technically is denying it, even after he's had it. I'm just waiting for him to just call himself God because he got better from COVID when he has like the best medical care in the country because he's rich and he's the president. I mean, he could have walked and gotten into a car and been driven to the hospital. No, he got flown over an airplane on taxpayers' money. Yeah. So basically, my political views, I don't really have a set party candidate. If Bernie Sanders would have ran Republican, which would have been weird for what he stands for, I would have voted that way. But I will go who I believe will do the best job. The last multiple elections, it has been a Democratic candidate. Well, what did Bernie run for in the one? I voted for him in the primary. Actually, I voted for him in the last couple of primaries. But not this election primary, but the time before that, I can't remember. Was he a major party politician or no? But so yeah, like I said, they do learn towards more. I think it's liberal. I don't know all the terminology very well, but like I said, I believe that gay people should be able to get married and to adopt kids or surrogacy or whatever form they want to be able to have kids. I believe that everybody has the right to healthcare is a right. You should have the right to pursue life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and healthcare. I believe in doing things for the greater good. I mean, there's all these anti-maskers out there who are like, you can't take away my rights. Again, what did I just say the Constitution says? That every, buddy is entitled to the rights of life, liberty, in the pursuit of happiness. What was in there? Life? You don't wear a mask, you could kill people. Wearing a mask saves lives. So if you wear the mask, you are giving people the right to have a life, to keep living, to stay healthy. You give people health care, you're also giving them the right to have life and to take care of themselves and, keep themselves healthy and take care of themselves if they're not healthy. I mean, my cousin's trying to raise money right now because she needs another kidney. The kidney that she was donated to 10 years ago is now failing. It's actually quite common to have organs, at least kidneys, after like 5-8 years, I think is like the common number. So yeah, that's a thing. There's people out there who are diabetic who die because they can't get insulin because it's too expensive. There is no reason. One of the biggest things that most of my health professors, like 95% or higher, my health professors were sure to push on us was how corrupt the American healthcare system is, insurance, stuff like that. And that there is no need for stuff to cost as much as it does here. Medicines in almost every other country's medical procedures, you name it, is almost always cheaper in other countries. And the only reason it's higher here in the United States is because of, big pharma, the big pharmaceutical countries jacking up the rates, the rich people trying to stay rich and keep, poor people down. I believe that everybody has the right to a livable wage. I've had a lot of jobs I've started at part-time or that I've started at minimum wage, and that's not enough to live off of. Back in the day, minimum wage was, I'm trying to think because I think I've heard both things. Once upon a time, you could actually live off of minimum wage. You could have like one or both parents working off of minimum wage to care for the family. Problem is, the price of everything else in the world has gone up, and minimum wage really has not. nowadays, really how minimum wage is set up is for like high school and college kids who don't have families to provide for, who don't have a whole lot. I mean, I had to buy a car, and that's one of the things that kind of broke my finances. I mean, I lived very, very strict budget. I lived off of ramen before. Luckily, I like ramen. But, I mean, I basically went flat ass broke to move to a better living situation, and then got screwed over and had to move again. So yeah, it is, yeah, even working full time at minimum wage. I mean, I keep thinking like, oh, are people like, oh, are you going to move out now? I'm like, I can't afford to move out. My neighbor / little sister, we're not actually related. She's actually looking for an apartment right now. I'm like, oh, we could go in on a place together and yay. And I'm like, wait, I can't afford that, and literally all I have to pay for is 2 card payments, a car payment, and a storage unit. I'm paying $150 on both of my cards. I don't have to pay that much, but I'm banking that out really fast. But I mean, let's just say that's my rent plus utilities. I can't live on my own right now. The call center I could have, but it would still be a tight budget. Like I would not be able to save up and move. Like at least one of my paychecks every single month would go for my rent and my utilities. And that's living in an area with surprisingly low apartment costs. And a lot of them I take that back. It would be over one paycheck alone would be like my my rent. And if I lived in the part of town where you have a very good chance of getting robbed, stabbed, or shot, yeah, I could afford to live there, probably with utilities maybe, but I don't want to live there. To be able to live in like a good neighborhood and have health care and pay your bills and make car payments and have insurance payments. And if you're on medicine and that you even making more than minimum wage, working full time, you might not be able to get by, or have an emergency fund. Like there's always things like, oh, well, you should have an emergency fund for this. In reality, most of Americans can't afford to have an emergency fund. So yeah, I believe that our system in our country is very, very screwed up, and it has gotten more screwed up in the past 4 years. I mean, okay, they could push to get a new person on the Supreme Court within less than 2 weeks of Ruth Bader RBG passing away. She was replaced. And then Congress and all those people got to go on a vacation, while there's still thousands of Americans who are without work because of the pandemic that the president did nothing about, and are losing their houses, losing their homes, losing everything. But Congress can go on vacation again. They do what they want to do. They don't do what's best for the people. And that needs to change. And that's why voting is important, people. I'm very, very proud of everybody that's been going on and voting. Like we have like the highest voter turnout in like all history. There's people that have never voted before who are definitely old enough to vote. Like Shaq voted for the first time and he's like in his 40s. This is my 5th presidential election. I actually turned 18 about 6 months before the presidential election of 2004. So I've never missed a vote because you know what? My 2 great grandmothers that I got to meet when they were born, women couldn't vote. This is 100 years ago that since white women could vote. Other nationalities, races, ethnic backgrounds, colors, whatever you want to say, haven't even been able to vote for that long. And it took 70 years of fighting to get the 19th Amendment to be passed, and even longer for women of color to be able to vote. So yeah, keep fighting for what you believe in. Keep fighting for the good stuff, I should say, because again, there's some people out there that believe in some really screwed up stuff. Facts are facts. There you go. Facts prove Trump opinions. So anyways, it's a little over a minute long. It's definitely over a minute long. A little over an hour long. I don't think I'm going to broadcast it like I was going to. I actually kind of wish I just typed this out because yeah, I'm still not happy with this video, but thanks to anybody who watched this. It's just stuff that I've kind of felt like I've wanted to get out there for a while because I can't share that around here. I can't be open about this stuff where I live. I'm actually not super looking forward to Christmas this year because I'm going to have to deal with crazy conspiracy theories and political crap, because I love how my sister tried to make herself be the black sheep of the family because she got divorced when she's like My great grandmother was divorced several times. My parents are divorced. We had another person of my generation get divorced prior to my sister. So yeah, it's nothing new in our family. It's not like my sister was this horrible. I mean, hello, our parents got divorced. We're children of divorce, so it's not weird that she ended up divorced. I'm the black sheep of the family because I actually have different beliefs and stance than a good number of my family. Luckily, though, my grandma's coming around to a lot of stuff. She realizes, a lot of the things. So, which is cool. Unfortunately, I have found out thanks to COVID and, George Floyd and all of that stuff happening this year that there's more people in my family that are racist than I realized. Thankfully, I don't know a whole lot of people in general, but there's a lot of surprising stuff came out about some people. So anyways, I just wanted to share that. I'm starving. I'm going to make a microwavable meal. It's funny, I waited to make my dinner so I could do this stream, and now I'm not going to have what I was going to make for lunch because it's too late because of this stream. But anyways, thanks for watching this, guys. If you haven't voted already, go out there and vote and stay safe. I feel like this is another thing too that should definitely say something about our current leadership, is the fact that there are people out there who are posting about like, hey, friends in the city, if things get crazy, we live not too far away from the city. You can come and stay with us to stay safe and all this different stuff. Like, it's crazy that we have this stuff going on over a presidential election. And I feel like that speaks volumes of how much there is about staying safe. And it's not staying safe just because of COVID. It's staying safe because of they're expecting uprisings no matter which political party wins. Yeah. So stay safe, everybody. Stay home, stay safe, mask up, take care, and as always, peace. And I might be doing a post in a couple, actually, I guess it would have to be tomorrow. Or sometime in the next couple weeks, maybe, of some of my box lunch stuff. Unfortunately, I think my local box lunch is closed again for inside shopping. So wear a mask, everybody. Masks save lives. Wear them. You want the world to go back to our new normal? You want to be able to shop and be able to see your friends and family safely again? Wear a mask, please. I haven't seen most of my friends in over a year. I haven't seen my regular group of friends in 8-10 months. Please wear a mask so we can get through this together. There's no me, it's we. Wear a mask. Take care. Peace.